Backstory, you kind of gave it a little bit. I went to undergrad here, got a double major in English and Spanish, and then realized that I wasn't going to get any sort of job with either of those. So I got a master's in marketing, and then out there I went back home to Atlanta, got a job in consulting. Worked, actually, sounds pretty cool on paper, a consulting company where we got hired by big Fortune 500 clients. I worked with Orkin, Newell Rubbermaid, Novartis Pharmaceuticals, SunTrust, Cellular South. I'm not sure if they're in Alabama, but in Mississippi. And anyway, we got hired by them to troubleshoot their marketing dollars, and a lot of times we would end up finding new advertising agency partners for them. So I got to work, it's a really small company, I got to work with a lot of C-suite level executives, chief marketing officers, the chief strategy guys for advertising agencies, creative directors, all that kind of stuff. So it sounds cool, but my boss is kind of like Devil Wears Prada lady, just kind of brutal. Like I really stayed up till 2 o'clock the night before work every day, and lived with my sister at the time, and I just drink wine and some bourbon, and I'm like, God, I don't want to go to work tomorrow because I have to deal with her again, and I spend as much time as I possibly could, like making Starbucks runs and getting the mail, and as much time as I could, like outside of the office. And finally, I decided I just couldn't do it anymore. I have a cousin up in Virginia, which is how I ended up in Virginia, where I own a restaurant with him. I worked at Evangeline's here in town, and then a couple other places. So I worked in restaurants kind of all the way through, but finally kind of just took the plunge and realized I couldn't do the whole 9-to-5 desk thing, and I'm kind of a creative ADD person anyway. So I went up to Virginia, opened up the restaurant there, and then just celebrated 5 years and moved back here, where my brother and I are starting this restaurant in Atlanta. It's going to be a modern barbecue and bourbon bar called Smoke and Still. We're still finalizing some plans, but hopefully looking at like around November or so. Anyway, like Dr. Alway said, I was here earlier this morning and talked with, I guess, the other half of the class, and we had some really cool conversations. I wasn't quite sure where it was going to go. But I got a lot of people that I think asked a lot of questions that I think I was asking internally back then that I was kind of too scared to ask. I think for me, my dad's a successful business person back in Atlanta, and I felt like I needed to kind of follow in his footsteps. You do the whole 9-to-5. I call it like the picket fence life, where you get the job, find the girl, have the kids, and then the whole cycle kind of repeats itself, like, which nothing's wrong with that, but for me, I felt like, well, maybe there's a different kind of route to go, and that's what I did. So I became a chef, opened the restaurant, and in the process, started developing a personal brand. I started doing a lot of TV recipe segments in Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Atlanta, kind of bouncing around. I started a company called Bachelor Kitchen, which we built a studio kitchen, did a lot of videos there, and then now I have 7,000 or 8,000 people on Facebook that follow me, and Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. And it's Chef Chris Hill on Facebook, the Chef Chris Hill on Instagram, and Batch Kitchen on Twitter if we have any Twitter folks out there. But I look at kind of where I am and where I was, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my master's degree here. I just kind of came because I felt like, well, 1 year is better than 2, and I need something that'll get me a job. So that's what I did, and looking back, I think there's so many things I would have done differently in terms of, the one thing I'm not disappointed myself with is, over the course of the year, I was really able to build some amazing relationships with group members. Like, I don't know how you guys have it set up, but really later that year I was a groomsman in one guy's wedding, and then a year later same thing, and so it was really special to build those bonds. And I think I just encourage you guys to do that. I'm sure you all probably will, but also kind of just feed off each other's stories and learn as much as you possibly can through the whole process. And I also look at school and kind of what. So back in like the 1830s, I think it was, when modern school was brought to be, it was really to feed the factories, and it was essentially interchangeable people interchangeable parts, and that's kind of been the case until like 15, 20 years ago, and especially with like social media and everything, it's totally like throwing everything on its head. And now it's kind of either you're like the top of the pyramid or you're the bottom. Because if you're in the middle, that kind of mediocre, this product's okay, this marketing is okay, whatever, then you're just kind of competing on price. And there's always be somebody a little bit cheaper or have a product that's a little bit similar and give people a reason to buy something else. So I think there's a real challenge and opportunity to stand out, which is kind of what I've learned through my bomb going off back there.
I don't know. There's something wrong.
No porn on the computers back there. So yeah, I think now you kind of have to stand out through your personal brand. And I know you might say, well, I'm not trying to be a big deal or whatever. And I can tell you, I tried real hard to be a big deal for a long time and realized that it wasn't that great. But through building it, through the TV stuff, I do a lot of writing too. I was an English major, and it was pretty awesome. I wrote an article about a year ago that went kind of crazy, accidentally viral. I wrote it the first couple weeks, it got like 200 views, and then the third week it went from like 200 views to like 3,000, 10,000, and the peak was getting almost 100,000 views a day. And over the course of that whole thing, which was pretty awesome, I was like, holy shit, this is great. And it was on medium.com, so if anyone out there is trying to build a brand and you have a voice and something you want to say, I encourage you to hop on medium.com. It's owned by the Twitter guys, and it's an easy, free way to share your voice and to really start building a name and platform for yourself. Whether it's you're writing about gardening or you're writing about marketing, or like for me, I write a lot about restaurant stuff, but also about like motivation and career advice. Because when this thing went viral, I got probably 800, maybe 1,000 emails from people all over the world, like not just US, but Canada, Australia, Philippines, people asking if I could sponsor them, like all sorts of crazy emails from people asking for advice on career. And here I was the guy that had like the double major in English and Spanish, got the master's in marketing, used it for like a year, kind of just been bouncing around. So I was like, well, I'm not really the most credible source to give anybody career advice. But I kind of was at that point where I had followed my heart, followed my passion, and as a result, I was in a place where I really loved what I did. I really felt connected to it, and with my employees there at the restaurant as well. So I started kind of asking a lot of these questions, that a lot of the questions that we talked about earlier with the earlier group. People asking, when things were hard, like what kind of got you through, and parents asking if I could email their son or daughter because they were at a point in their career where they felt like they needed like a boost. So I emailed hundreds of people all over the world and really connected with a lot of people. And through that, I've done in the last year 2 TEDx talks. If you search Chef Chris Hill, you'll see there's a couple, at least one TEDx talk on YouTube. But I think at the end of the day, like I started to say, you really need to build that brand for yourself online. Like if somebody searches your name and they don't see much at all, I think it's a lot of times a huge red flag. Resumes, I think, are going to be obsolete in the next like 2, 3, 4 years, because I can search and find you on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter and see kind of what you're about, and then a lot of times make a decision up front based on that. So I just encourage you guys to, whatever it is you want to do, try and find that over this next year. And like earlier I was talking to somebody that was really passionate about like electrics and like electronics and stuff, and he wants to somehow get into that. I told him, why not start blogging about it? Why not start creating conversation? Maybe you're the guy that gives very transparent advice about electronics, and as a result, people can trust you, and then you're a trusted person within the space, and then somebody like Sony or whoever else might be more interested in giving you a job. And a lot of people, a lot of companies haven't really realized this. Like, I look at a very prime example of Kodak. Like 3 years ago, I think it was, they filed for bankruptcy. And you ask, like, well, what happened? Why, what was, first of all, like, what was their product? And a lot of people say, well, film. And I was listening to the chief marketing officer talk not long ago, and he was saying that back when they were still, bless you, back when they were still somewhat successful, he was saying, well, yeah, but we're really about creating memories. And I think part of that building your brand is creating a story for yourself and something that people can connect with. It definitely helps within your within your organizations. You know, almost all the most meaningful situations I've had for the last 5 years, which I've had a lot. It's been pretty sweet. They've almost all been connected to people and helping people, them helping me, and creating that bond. Bless you. And then finally, I just say, like, put yourself out there. Try stuff that you've never done before. Again, looking at the meaningful things that I've done, which is like TV stuff's been pretty cool. You know, 2 TEDx talks. I became a chef, opened a restaurant, about to open another one. Moved to a place I'd never been before. Like, I look at all those things that have been kind of, I guess, check marks that have been like positives for me in my career in the last 5 years. And with all those, they've come from stepping outside my comfort zone. I know that's so cliche to like say, and it's all over the internet and people say it everywhere, but I think, you know, a lot of those things that we're told are actually true, and I think that's one of them. So I just encourage you with whatever to, you know, try things that might not work, and in doing so, like, it either does work or you learn something about yourself and you learn something about what you're trying to do in the process.